Did melee hunters get nerfed today? Realistically, what happened today with the normalization, which you probably heard about of Raptor Strike, but you don't really understand, or most people don't really understand, what exactly that means. And what I mean was this little stealth addition that was added onto the hotfixes that came out last night or today, depending on wherever you live. Hunters, Raptor Strike damage when with the melee specialist rune active will actually have normalized weapon damage. And what this means essentially is, yes, at the top end, hunters will be nerfed, and at the other end, there's an interesting interaction that went on. So there was also a ton of other patch notes that happened. Druids got a huge buff. If you're a druid tank, if you're a druid, feral druid DPS, you like, what the heck? They absolutely need some love, and I apologize for fumbling there. Paladins had a few little hot fixes that went out. Priests had their rework. Rogues, shuriken toss, the actual range of shuriken toss was reduced, so you won't accidentally ninja pull 2 packs at the same time. Now it's the same range whenever you do the shuriken toss, like whatever else will be aggroed with it. It's basically the same range as you have with something like Avenger's Shield. And shamans are now massively buff, doing way more damage. But weapon normalization, let's just look at it in a nutshell really quickly and then kind of break down how this changes things. Now you look at my new hunter that I started on Friday, and you can see that I have 1.8 speed weapon in the main hand, 2.2 speed weapon in the offhand. Now, as we usually know weapons in the game, you usually would want something that is a slower weapon, like the Mechatorque's weapon right here. If I bring it over, is a very slow weapon. So right here we have the Mechatorque weapon that is a 2.6 with a very high top end, 115 top end. And as the offhand, which was supposed to be the melee hunter bis offhand, which is 2.8 speed. Now slow weapons, if things are not normalized, would hit harder. So an ability like Raptor Strike that hits with both of your weapons would actually do damage off of the top end here, as well as if it hits harder, it would basically do more damage. Think about it like Sinister Strike, essentially. Right? So the slow weapon is good in this instance. Now, if it's normalized, what this actually means is this weapon will actually act as if it is 2.4 speed. So it won't actually look or act within the game or the confines of the game with a multiplier from attack power as 2.6 speed. Nope, it's actually acting as a 2.4 speed. And I can show you that with a little bit of normalization explained right here. So it basically means that all one-handed weapons will act as if they are 2.4 speed, meaning those slower weapons are getting weaker. Yes, there is a melee hunter nerf at the top end, but that's a pretty important distinction I made right there at the very end here, guys. At the top end, melee hunters are seeing a nerf. With both of the fist weapons, it's something like a 5% nerf to melee hunters. It's actually pretty significant, but if we look at something like where most hunters right now are using a weapon like Vanquisher's Sword, which is 2.2 speed, or the weapons you saw on my other hunter earlier, the very fast weapons actually now will count as if they are 2.4 speed. That means Raptor Strike with this Vanquisher's Sword right here will actually hit harder. Yes, that's right. Protector Sword might be nerfed, but Vanquisher Sword, or if you head into Uldaman as a Horde and you get the Nordic Longshank, or if you have Sword of Omen or Sword of Serenity, all of these actually technically got stronger. So the melee hunters that you are most likely dealing with, the melee hunters that are going to be in your raids more often than not, actually kind of saw a tiny buff right now. Until they have to use slower weapons, most melee hunters out there most likely received a little bit of a buff. And that can be seen if we go right here into the logs. Now, as of yesterday, there was a huge shift in the logs. It was basically only warlocks and mages at the top. The top hunter was somewhere like 30 by the time this happened, right? Now it is a huge shift by one hunter in specific, Zatara. Actually, our boy Evan is going to be on the stream tomorrow breaking this down, but Zatara went in and did 554 DPS. If I just go to Warcraft logs, again, this is like almost 100 DPS above any other hunter. He is absolutely dumpstering right now. But this happened again February 20th. This happened after normalization, and you can see all of the top logs are after normalization here, guys. So crazy damage being done, and usually with early weapons like you would see Protector's Sword and Vanquisher's Sword. But this is still a meaningful damage reduction at the top end. So as other classes get more and more gear, you can definitely expect to see the Warlocks and Mages take over again. Now that is one hunter way higher than the rest, and the next highest hunter was at like 33, as you saw in the meters. It is all Warlocks and Mages at the top, and it should remain that way and kind of shift that way even more. And if you were to look at speed within the raid, there's already raids being done in 22 minutes. And in this instances, anything looking towards speed top end, currently, it's actually leaning towards warriors. 3 warriors and 1 melee hunter. Right behind that, 3 warriors, 1 melee hunter. Now we do have the mage, the shadow priest, of course, and then there's like a warrior or 2 warriors in every group. But we will see potentially some caster stacks. But at the same time, melee classes seem to be in a good position right now. Casters are significantly pumping on single target bosses, and melee hunters are doing well as well. But for overall, we're gonna see kind of like an adjustment period as people are getting gear. It's looking like it's gonna kind of even out a little bit. So hopefully that explained, was this a nerf or a buff, and what normalization really means. It just affects Raptor Strike right now. Specifically, that's what the change happened. It affects Raptor Strike. If you have a faster weapon, it acts as if it is 2.4 speed. So you want to essentially focus more on the DPS of the weapon, literally the DPS of the weapon, and what are the stats on the weapon itself, instead of focusing on getting a very slow weapon mostly in your main hand and focusing on something like that. Hopefully that helps, guys, and if it does, of course, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If it's confusing, let me know in the comments. Hopefully that was helpful, though. I tried to get this one out relatively quick for you guys, and I'll see you all on the next one.